Ten Hag demands big payoff in Man Utd contract. Should the Manchester United hierarchy sack him in the future, Ten Hag wants a one-year settlement. Erik Ten Hag pushing for a big payoff on his new Manchester United contract. Looking to extend stay by 2 to 3 years, while seeking protection for future budget concerns for the summer transfer window. Focus on personal cash and long-term plans. Manchester United boss Erik Ten Hag wants a big payoff written into any potential new deal, journalist Alan Nixon has written in his Patreon, after news has broke that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and co are keen to retain the 54-year-old chief's services beyond his contract expiration date. In a crazy turn of events, the 20-time English champions went from sounding out an array of potential successors to entering discussions with the Dutchman over extending his stay in Greater Manchester. Ten Hag's second season at the Old Trafford helm was nothing short of tumultuous and was perhaps saved by him winning his second piece of silverware for the club after a memorable 2-1 win over Manchester City in the FA Cup final. Ten Hag wants big payoff in new contract. Looking to add 2 to 3 years onto his stay. Writing in his Patreon, Nixon suggested that, in any new deal rolled out in front of him, the former Ajax man wants a big payoff written into it as a means of offering himself protection for when Ratcliffe and his Ineos-led team next cast doubt over his future. As such, he will seek at least a one-year settlement, which could cost the club just short of £10 million given he earns £9 million per year, according to ESPN. Ten Hag is now in the final year of his contract, which he signed in April 2022, but is chasing fresh terms. Preferably, he would like to extend his stay by 2 to 3 years, but the final outcome of the negotiations remains to be seen. For Ten Hag, much of the new contract talks will revolve around the figure he'll earn should the Manchester United boardroom bosses decide he is not the man for the job in the coming years. There is every possibility that, even though Ten Hag's job is secure at the moment, other managers could be contacted in the event that they become increasingly frustrated over the lack of progression in M16. Keen to take advantage of the uncertainty surrounding the Manchester-based club, Nixon suggested that the Dutchman is eager to emphasize the need for a long-term plan, which will include all possibilities around his future. As things stand, Manchester United's budget for the summer transfer window is believed to be less than needed, though Ten Hag remains firm that he is more concerned about his own cash and what the future holds for him on a personal level. Ineos review has revealed a surprisingly key figure for Manchester United next season. Erik Ten Hag will remain in charge of Man United next season and now needs to make his signings work and deliver a successful campaign. As Ineos weighed up the future of Erik Ten Hag during their end-of-season review at Manchester United, they considered several factors. There were positives for Ten Hag and there was mitigation, reasons for a desperate Premier League campaign that can be rectified next season. Those focused primarily on injury issues, but also a sense that the business done in the 2023 summer transfer window was with an eye on long-term results. There was an acceptance that Andre Onana and Rasmus Højlund took time to settle and that Mason Mount's season was wrecked through injury. Ineos expect that there is more to come from the £163 million trio and that the full benefit of that investment is yet to be felt. Onana certainly improved as the campaign went on and Højlund had a couple of spells where it looked like he was ready to lead the line. The greatest disappointment will be reserved for Mount, who started the season slowly after his £55 million move from Chelsea, lost his place in the team and then struggled with his fitness. If there are reasons for Onana and Højlund to take time to settle into a new league and a new country, it was expected that the England international would hit the ground running in midfield. Instead, he managed just 20 appearances and 8 starts for the club, contributing a solitary goal and assist. His only start after November 1 came in the 4-0 defeat to Crystal Palace towards the end of the season, and he only came on in the 89th minute in the FA Cup final at Wembley. The midfield didn't exactly thrive without him, but that was down to structural issues as much as personnel. The role he was signed for has now been filled by Kobbie Mainoo, a definite positive for Ten Hag, and Mount has a challenge to get back into the team. Mainoo has become an up-trouble presence in the centre of the pitch and Bruno Fernandes is a guaranteed starter. A new holding midfielder is likely to arrive this summer. That means Mount's role for now is likely to be off the bench. There is no way Ineos will give up on a £55 million signing, however, and if he does flop again for a second successive season, then it will reflect poorly on Ten Hag's judgment. The manager pushed hard to sign him, having followed him since a loan spell in the Eredivisie 7 years ago. Way, Mount has become a key figure during the end-of-season review. When Sir Jim Ratcliffe met Thomas Tuchel, the former Chelsea boss pointed to the success he had in getting the best out of Mount at Stamford Bridge and said he could repeat that trick at Old Trafford. Mount played the best football of his career under Tuchel and created the winning goal in the 2021 Champions League final. The promise of extracting more from a key signing wasn't enough to land Tuchel the job, but the mention of Mount as a factor in the mitigation for last season's performance levels still feels telling. It is now on Ten Hag to get the most out of the 25-year-old. As a player still yet to reach his theoretical prime and an England international signed for big money, there is pressure on Mount to deliver value. Ten Hag signed him to knit his midfield together, and although his first season ended up as a write-off, it's clear there is now a demand to make this deal a success in Season 2. The £83 million boost incoming Omar Berrada can give Man United and stop them losing key argument. A new transfer policy is already being implemented by Omar Berrada weeks before he officially arrives at Man United. Manchester United have already begun their overhaul of the playing squad at Old Trafford. Not only with a recruitment drive that is picking up pace, but through tackling a monster wage bill. Raphael Varane and Anthony Martial will be off the salary run in 15 days' time. The high earners weren't offered new deals and have departed on free transfers, freeing up £30 million in annual wages. They won't be the last exits. The remaining highest earner, Casemiro, is shuffling towards the exit door, with United believed to be keen on getting him a move to Saudi Arabia, while Christian Eriksen and Aaron Wan-Bissaka could easily be sold this summer. Another senior defender like Harry Maguire or Victor Lindelof could also depart, while Uberflop Donny van de Beek should be shifted for good. According to Spotrac, they are among the highest earners at the club and could cut as much as a further £53 million off the annual wage bill, though it must be said that those figures should be taken with a pinch of salt, given the very nature of the speculation. Even to be close, however, it could represent an overall reduction of £83 million. It certainly offers plenty of food for thought, particularly for Omar Berrada, United's new chief executive, who will be tasked with ensuring the correct structure is implemented across all areas of the club once he officially joins the club on July 13 after his gardening leave at Manchester City is finished. Berrada's job will not be to tell the club how to spend their money or which players to target, but he will be in charge of enforcing their negotiating power and ensuring that United do not overpay for players. It will likely be up to him to evaluate the value of a prospective new signing and ensure that United stick to their principles and are not taken advantage of by overpaying for individuals. Speaking ahead of taking the Old Trafford role, he warned why overpaying clubs, players, and agents in the transfer market can lead to teams finding themselves on a slippery slope. United have been sliding for a decade. While United will certainly be looking to initially cut their wage bill this summer, it does not mean that they will be cautious to spend it as a result. Berrada is happy to sanction big deals if they represent value for money. Just look at his time with City. Last season, City became the first club in British football history to spend more than £400 million on annual wages, in part due to the mammoth £45 million annual salary of Erling Haaland. United's was £91.8 million lower, but that does not mean that they had spent it well. If you have a very solid rationale as to why you're offering the fee, the salary, and the commission, they might not agree with it, but they will accept it, Berrada told the Financial Times at the start of the year. Once you start overpaying, then you lose that argument, and that puts you in a much more difficult position to say to the next one, I can only offer you this. Those comments perhaps back up United's opening bid for Gerard Branthwaite. The £35 million offer for a player valued by Everton at more than double that has been described by some as derisory, but the Ineos regime under Sir Jim Ratcliffe are determined not to overspend. United have long been accused of spending recklessly in the transfer market and operating without a long-term plan in mind. They will quickly fluctuate between different targets and end up paying far more money than a player is worth. United tax is something they have to contend with, but Berrada has already had to operate with a City tax working against him as well. A key part of his success at the Etihad Stadium was the work done by Txiki Begiristain, who would oversee the football side of things, before Berrada's business brain was engaged. For him to have half as much success on the red half of Manchester, another leading sporting director will be required, And that is exactly what United are trying to do with their pursuit of Dan Ashworth. As well as the record wage bill for the triumphant 2022-23 season, Berrada also helped deliver annual revenues of £712 million, more than United's, which stood at £648 million. He believes the on-field success of Pep Guardiola's side was a key reason behind that, but the two are deeply interlinked, given that the success was built upon their successful sporting structure and recruitment policy. The commercial growth of the clubs is predicated or underpinned by success on the pitch, he explained. If you have a really good business strategy alongside it, then it just turbocharges the growth off the pitch. Berrada will only be a success as part of a wider structural overhaul, and that structural change will only be a success if he is given the power to do his job. He won't tell them how to spend their money, but he could give them an immediate £83 million boost to help. Diogo Dalot has told Man United how to make their easiest summer transfer decision. Manchester United right-back Diogo Dalot was one of the club's most consistent performers last season, and it is now time for the Reds to make one of their easiest summer decisions in a season which will go down as mainly disappointing. There was a few bright sparks to keep Manchester United fans believing in the Erik-Ten Hag project. Winning the FA Cup is obviously at the top of that list thanks to its unexpectedness and how it catapulted the Reds back into Europe. Kobbie Mainoo's emergence as one of the hottest midfield prospects in world football was also an added bonus. However, perhaps forgotten is the performances of Diogo Dalot for United. The Portuguese fullback was Mr. Consistent this past season and was often the one United player you could rely on to give 110% and back that up with quality. His displays have not gone unnoticed either, as he was named the Players' Player of the Season at Old Trafford this year. In a recent press conference ahead of Portugal's opening Euro 2024 fixture with Czechia, Dalot explained that he realized how well he is performing as of late. "My career has been progressive," he said. "I don't hide that it's a good moment, perhaps the best in my career. But it's worth it. If I don't continue to demonstrate that I deserve to play. The work continues, day by day, in the same way, to be able to continue with the level of fitness that I have been demonstrating." It is no secret that Dalot is at the peak of his powers at the moment, and it now seems obvious what Ten Hag, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos must do this summer. Currently, the Reds have Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Dalot battling for the right-back spot. Neither man wants to settle as a backup option, so with financial fair play, FFP, being what it is, one will likely need to be sold to help reduce the wage bill. Ultimately, the player who must be moved on is Wan-Bissaka. He is out of contract in 2025, and if the Reds were to sell him this summer, they could add some much-needed funds and target a younger player with the potential to one day replace Dalot. But for now, the Portuguese defender deserves to be backed, and with cost-cutting on the agenda this summer, selling Wan-Bissaka should be the easiest decision Ineos have to make.